Good evening and welcome to our Start of the Season podcast here on the Commentary Hub with the association of JDAC Football, JB Sports and Storm Radio, and of course our official sponsor to the season, Melon. I'm your host, John Kane, and on today's show we're going to get this coming season predictions from our Commentary Team Hub. With us tonight, starting from the top left corner, we got Ross Vernon, myself and Mark Harneman. We've got Luke Turton, Liam Brusby, Jack Cunningham, and Barry Swain. Good evening, all.
Evening.
Evening, guys.
Evening.
Anyone who's listening, please feel free to send us any comments or questions while we are on air, and we'll be happily pass them to our pundits tonight to answer them, if they know the answers, that is. Now, football is a beautiful game, but it's also a guessing game. We can't predict exactly what might happen, and that's the beauty of it. So each one of us tonight going to give us their own predictions for the coming season and why. Now let's start with Mike Harneman, an Arsenal fan and a huge contributor to Stevenage Borough and the Commentary Hub, of course. Mike, as Stevenage Borough are in League Two, tell us what you think of Stevenage this season and who we're looking for promotions and possible relegation. That is relegation for the Football League altogether and the financial consequences, of course.
Yeah, so first of all, I've got to say it's not Stevenage Borough anymore, but, you know, I just have to get the that one out there.
Thank you.
But it's just Stevenage Football Club. Ever since we were promoted to the Football League, they got rid of Borough, but it's now just Stevenage Football Club. And in regards to League Two, just to go over the division, I do feel that, you know, Stevenage have a chance. I think we've started off really brightly. You have to look at, you know, the game on Saturday. We were very, very good against Barrow. Picked up the 3 points, and we followed that up nicely with a cup win against Luton as well. So, in terms of my predictions for the League Two league as a whole, I've got the champions to be Salford City. I think they've got lots of money behind them, and of course, you know, the great ownership as well, which have sort of stemmed from the '92. All the old classic Manchester United names. And we've got Bristol Rovers. I think they'll do really well as well. I think, you know, the fact they've just come down, I think they've kind of kept a lot of their squad. I don't think they've really changed too much. And, I think they'll go the distance as well and get promoted. I've got Exeter City up there as well. And I think they'll be the third team to get promoted, to be promoted, as well. I think they're always there or thereabouts around the playoffs. And then I've thrown it in there and been a bit biased and put Stevenage as playoff winners just because, you know, we started off this season really well. And even before that, you know, sort of from January last season onwards, since Dean Wilkins came in and, you know, we went on a really, really good unbeaten run. I think it was till about Salford. We were only something like a couple of results, 2 or 3 results away from possibly getting into the playoffs at that time. We had a really good clean sheet record, an unbeaten record as well at that time, all the way from January till now, really. So, we've strengthened really, really well, brought in some really good players for the level, and I think that, you know, we've certainly, you know, be there or thereabouts in the playoff for me. And I'll put us as winners. So, you know, I'm very optimistic with that so far, but. It might be a little bit biased. It might just be me chucking that in there because of my sort of bias and my own sort of link to the club and the town as well. Yeah.
I mean, completely understandable. Everyone have a bit biased towards their own clubs, and Stevenage is no exception. But now you told us the history of Stevenage in the last 10 minutes. You mentioned Salford, obviously, with all this financial crisis that hit the whole world, really.
Yeah.
Are Salford immune from that sort of situation, considering who's actually backing them up, or are they actually being affected as well?
No, of course they've still been affected. They're not immune at all. And let me just grab the Salford squad as well. Just give me 2 seconds, because then I can see, in regards to what they've done in terms of, you know, some of the names that they brought in. They did have George Boyd with them last season as well. He, I don't think, is there anymore. I think they released him. But they've still got a really, really good squad. Lots of experienced pros, lots of good players that have played at higher levels as well. There's some big names in there. It's a small squad, but at the same time, there's some big names in there that really, if you look at a League Two squad, can certainly be challenging there or thereabouts. Although, as I said, it is a small squad. They've only got something like probably 20 odd players, maybe less than that.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. And obviously the consequences, like we said, is for going down or coming off the professional football league is huge, isn't it? Have we got a couple of tips or a couple of teams that we might think they're going to struggle really badly, which we'll see? I mean, we've seen it with Yeovil and a few others. What is sort of situations regarding teams that are going to be struggling this season?
Yeah, well, I put Swindon in there. I think Swindon have had a lot of financial difficulties. They've obviously just come down as well from League One. They have actually got a few players together now. I think before they only had something like 5 or 6 players, but now they have sort of added to that a little bit. They brought Anthony Grant back, who was with them before, a real Swindon legend. He's now back with them as well. But I do, think they're still going to struggle. Swindon, there's not enough quality about them. So I think they'll be one of the sides to get relegated. And also, I've put Barrow as well. And actually, seeing Barrow on Saturday, I probably would have changed my mind now, but I'm stuck with my guns. But I think Barrow, potentially could struggle as well. Although if they play like they did on Saturday, then it could be work on proved wrong. Yeah.
I'll put it all for the rest of the team. Anyone got any other different views regarding this league, Salford?
Actually, it's interesting that no one's ever been relegated straight back down to non-league football, having come up from the Conference / National League. And, this season, Sutton United, I actually did see the highlights of their game last week against Forest Green, and they're not bad, actually. They brought in some very astute signings, so you think they might just be okay to survive. But I agree with Mike. Southend slipped straight through League One, League Two very quickly, didn't they? And Swindon, you kind of get the feeling the writing's on the wall. I always find that the relegation from the Football League is always one of the easier ones to predict, and I used to get it right every year, apart from last year when I said Cheltenham would go down. They went and won the league. Or the year before, was it? But I think Swindon, I think they've kind of got themselves in order. I haven't really been following the story, but it's after a summer of turmoil, it's hard to recover. And even if you've got players coming in, you've got to bed them in. If you haven't had a proper pre-season, you're off to a poor start. And ask anyone like Southend and Grimsby from last year, once you're behind, it's a tough old league to start playing catch up with. But if you go on a run like Stevenage did, they're that's the way to do it. It's climb the league. But I think it's tough down the bottom, 2 going down, and no one wants to be a non-league club, even though in theory the National League is just as strong as League Two in many respects.
100%,
yeah, definitely.
Luke, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'd be concerned for Rochdale. I mean, they are more or less in the situation that Swindon were in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've not got the exact facts yet, because I'm going to be doing an interview with a Rochdale fan on Tuesday, but from what you're telling me in the Club Update series I did, they are in a right mess.
It's quite bizarre, isn't it? I mean, for the older chaps here, will remember Swindon not long ago, they were in the Premier League, and to see them being tipped to come off completely off the professional football, it's really, really scary on how football can be cruel, but can be mismanaged, shall we say. Or some clubs can be mismanaged to get to that situation. And it's absolute shy, because at the end of the day, the only people going to suffer, regardless how big or small the club is going to be the fans, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just 100% as well to what you're saying there. When Stevenage went on that fantastic FA Cup run back in the late 90s, they actually knocked out Swindon just before playing Newcastle. But at that time, Swindon were flying. I think they were near the top of the old First Division.
Absolutely. Well, that's League Two. Now we come to Russ Vernon. Russ, he's a massive Leeds fan and also a great contributor to the TCHub as a commentator and all the hard work behind the scenes. Now, Russ, League One, as many teams are aiming for high this season, aren't they, in this division? But from your perspective, who you actually think will actually get that nod for the promotion? I believe there's 3 teams to go up from 3 teams and 1 playoff? Or is that the League Two?
Yeah, it's 3 up. Yeah,
3 up. Yeah, 3 up.
Just 3 up.
Just
3 up is. So for me in the
in top spots. I think what they've done in the summer and with the squad that they've already got, and that you're playing a club who I follow closely, whose game was had on the weekend and in midweek as well. Rotherham United, the Wigan Athletic League, which I think is doing a fantastic job of the DW Stadium, and I think he will, with the squad they've already got, I think they'll guide themselves into the title this season. I think Wigan have got a very good squad for that division. We're very unlucky not to go up last season, and I think with this season they'll have a very good season. I think they'll win the title. In second spot, they may have been relegated from the Championship only last season, and they will have made some very good signings. I think it's about 12 or 13 signings have already made this summer, John, and I think from what I've been reading from local reporters who cover the club, there's a few more club signings to come in. For Darren Moore, I think Sheffield Wednesday could end up finishing second in the playoff winning spot and going to via the playoffs, like they have done in the past few seasons when they've been in League One. I'm going to go for my hometown club, Rotherham United, who I follow quite close and do bits of work with in my other free time alongside the other. And I think the squad that Rotherham scored this season, and Rotherham are currently top of the table in League One. Having played one game with the goal difference, that win over Plymouth Argyle was a fantastic win for them. And I think Rotherham, good squad that they've got there, good strong players for League One. I think Rotherham this season will probably do a yo-yo club, continue to be one of the yo-yo clubs, will come up and then probably end up going straight back down again. That's what they tend to do. And I think they've got some good squad depth in the squad this season, the Millers. And I think Rotherham will do very, very well and will go via the playoffs for me this season, John. And then down at the other end of the table, the three to get relegated, I have gone for Morecambe to go down. I don't think they've done very, very well in the business, and they've lost Derek Adams. I think that could be a big loss for them. I've also gone for Plymouth to get relegated, and for those who do know Mr. RS, I'm not going to say his full name, Mr. RS, is not because I don't think they've got a very good squad, Plymouth, and I think they've not recruited well this summer. Another team I think is going to struggle this season, which in the league I think will be Accrington Stanley. I don't think they've done enough business. And another one, Mike, who you've got, who you know a member of their backroom team of, I think is going to get relegated. I think Burton Albion will be the other team getting relegated from League One this season. I don't think they've got enough squad depth to stay up this season, Jonathan. I don't feel like they've added enough quality to the side from what they lost with the players that's left this summer.
I think Mike is shaking his head, but just before I'll get you, I'm just going to get Mark into the show, joining us a bit late. Good evening, Mark.
Evening,
oh, you're right. You got yourself on mute. Oh, you're good. You're back now.
Yeah, can you hear us, Mark?
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can now. Yeah, we can now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, Mark. You just came into the League One positions and predictions and stuff. Have you got any predictions on this league, or even if you want to reverse back to League Two, you're more than welcome to do so.
Probably stick with League Two. It's from my point of view, at Mansfield, I think obviously got Nigel Clough at the helm. I mean, to be honest with you, we always seem to be optimistic because obviously the owners we've got, the backing, we've signed some really good players over the summer. So it's a tough league, to be honest with you, though, because I think looking at the teams that's in the league, that team that's come down from League One, I think it's going to be a very competitive league this season, League Two. So it's a difficult one to call, but Yeah, I'm feeling really confident, and I think we should be in the top 7 with the squad.
Yeah, just for mention for our viewers, Mark obviously is a big Mansfield fan, and same division as Stevenage, not Borough, Stevenage.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll be having a few chats in the future regarding the exchange their results and few notes between them. So thank you, Mark.
I think me and Mark have already spoken about the potential of meeting maybe for if Mansfield come here, if he comes to the away game. I think we've already had a little chat regarding that. So
that's completely understandable. Completely understandable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now let's go to the championship, if we may. Luke.
I was just gonna. Sorry, Matt. I wanted to
go
on Burton.
Of course, yeah. Apologise. Yeah.
No, that's fine, mate. I do think Burton are going to be, in a bit of trouble. But with the likes of, Tom Hamer, the likes of, they've got Ben Garrett as well, the goalkeeper. They've got some real, Johnny Smith, Lucas Akins, Kane Hemmings. They've got some really good players. Michael Boswick as well. Another old Stevenage player. And you can't, look beyond sort of Danny Rowe as another player that, is really sort of well equipped to know where the back of the net is, Kieran Wallace as well. And you have to look at the fact they've got Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as their manager. Like, I think that his experience will be enough to keep them up. And that's, the way I look at it. And obviously with Dino there as well, Dino will be a big help for Burton and keeping them up, I think. And, there's plenty about that squad. I'm not too sure what Russ has seen that he doesn't like, or he doesn't kind of see in terms of their quality, because they've got a really big squad actually as well.
I'm sure he'll reply to you in a second anyway. So
yeah,
just on, Barry.
To be fair, I just wanted to mention with League One. I mean, obviously you got 3 teams going up, but there's some massive clubs in that league: Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, Charlton, Portsmouth.
Ipswich,
they've got there's a real big chance that they're not coming back. Sunderland have been in League One now. I think it's their 4th season now. Portsmouth have been there for ages. Sheffield Wednesday, you've got to argue, if they don't come back up, are they going to get stuck? It's such a hard league to get out of this season. I've gone for champions Charlton, actually, because of Nigel Adkins' record of getting out of League One. I think Charlton will win the league this season, just simply because of Adkins. He's almost it's almost like when he got appointed, I was like, hasn't he managed Charlton before? He's just such a that fits that club perfectly. So League One is such a hard league to predict. Wigan have got a brilliant squad, as Russ mentioned, but whoever goes up, there's still going to be some massive clubs stuck in that league for another season. And
I think
and it's a question of how do they get out of it.
And I've done that as well. Sorry, John. I just want to say that I've put Sunderland, Ipswich, and Portsmouth to go up. And that's probably largely down to, not really their playing squad, but their fan base. They've got probably, some exceptional fans. And, I'm sure Jack, when he hears the name Sunderland, will probably be shaking his head. But other than that...
No. The fans were excellent. The fans are excellent.
I do think they're obviously massive clubs. And I do think that they've got enough about them, with that support as well, the home games. And if they can pack those sort of respective stadiums out, that will really play a big part.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say, I mean, regarding, is rightly so, mentioning all these big clubs in that division, but I think sometimes seeing the board or the club in general, they seem to have a feeling that when they go down, they will bounce back up. But as Sunderland's seen, it's not always the case. It doesn't matter who you are and how big you are, you're not guaranteed to go up straight away. Promotion, let alone being a champion in that division, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And also, speaking of League One, as you know, as a lot of people know, I'm a Leeds United fan, and we were down in there for a few seasons before we actually came back up to the Championship and now back into the Premier League. And we know how hard it is to get out of both League One and the Championship when we were down there. And the reason, Mike, to why I think Burton are going to struggle. When I look at some of the signings that they've made in the summer, the likes of Borthwick Jackson, Connor Shaughnessy, Oshiala from Charlton as well, and Lewis Moore from Preston. Having seen them a few times over the last couple of seasons when playing for the previous clubs, I've not really been impressed with how they've played, and I can't see how they would fit into the Burton system and the Burton style. And also with Burton, they've lost a couple of key players for me in the squad from what they had last season on free transfers as well in Luke Varney and Stephen Quinn. Luke Varney's gone to Quorn. Stephen Quinn is obviously gone to Mansfield, who marks a pass, and I think they've not really replaced them two players quite enough yet. I know there's still a bit of time left for the window to go, and if they do sign a couple of key players to replace those between now and the end of the season, then it will work. I've not seen enough of Aaron Amade Holloway yet, who's a striker will have fetched in, so I'm not really sure how well he'll do in this in England. But from the other players have signed, I don't think they'll have a good enough impact to keep them in League One this season, man. That's the reason behind why
I just want to answer that back quickly as well. Just for the strikers, they don't really need. I think he's more of a backup. Kane Hemmings and Lucas Akins will be the main front pairing. And just kind of going back to, I want to just put out there that with Dino as well, Dino was there under Graham Wesley, here under Graham Wesley at Stevenage when Graham Wesley, got us to the playoffs in League One. He was Graham's assistant. So, and there was a few players in there that have really played a big part in that as well. And, Lucas Akins was a fantastic player for Burton. I think he's one of their top appearance holders or goal scorers or something now. And Michael Bostwick knows that division really well as well. But, I see your point, yeah.
Thank you, gents. Let's move on to the Championship, shall we? Luke, now, Forest fan, first game this season. I appreciate it. It's never easy going to Coventry, being part of the Midlands Derby and what have you. But being 1-0 up at half-time and then losing that lead 2-1, especially in the dying seconds, it must have hurt. But are we going to see similar pattern for Forest this season, or do you think it was just an odd game and we're going to see far better team in the forthcoming season?
Well, I'd hope we'd see a far better team, but I mean, optimism isn't high within the Forest camp. There's a lot of people already wanting Chris Hughton out, which, I mean, I'm not one of those. I think he'll get it right with the signings he brings in. And, I mean, you got to remember, you can't change a lot when you're using more or less exactly the same players we had for the majority of last season. There's only so much you can do with the tactics, etc. And I think that's why we are so defensive, because we have a defensive-minded squad with not a lot of energy, and there was a lot of overaging players.
I mean, it's weird mentioning about Chris Hughton and some fans want a man. I'm sure Jack Cunningham will agree with me. I think he'd done a very good job personally on the budget that he had at Newcastle and likewise at Brighton. And if any manager, if he doesn't get the resources that he have, it'll be hard for him. So the fans, you would think, they'd expect less from any manager, really, if there is some sort of limited resources.
Sorry, John, it's absolutely madness as well. So say you're going to sack him after one league game, you're still in the middle of a transfer window, remember, as well. So give him a bit of time and see what he can do with the budget that he's given, or the fact he might be able to get some frees, some loans, etc., and then sort of go from there.
Just to go to devil's advocate here, Mike. The way they're doing, the way that some fans are looking at this is it's not actually one game. They're seeing it as a continuation from the last season.
Yeah, but then you're still in the transfer window. You've still got plenty of time to kind of adjust. You can get rid of players in this window as well if you need to raise funds to bring players in. There's still ways and means around it.
Oh yeah, I know, but some fans don't see it that way. They see that Chris Hughton is just one way. He's going to play one specific way and pick the players he's currently picking, and if signings come in, they probably won't play anyway. There are some negative people in our fan base.
So are you actually discounting Forest from getting promoted this season, from your personal point of view?
Personally, yes, because we've only made the playoffs twice within the last 11 years, and they were back-to-back. So, personally, I think we're going to get between 7th and 10th.
Right, so prediction-wise, who do we think going to perform really well in this league? And I mean, everyone's dying to go up to the Premier League, or we got the teams who actually got relegated last season. Are we expecting the same teams to more or less probably bounce back again, or are there other teams that we need to keep an eye on?
I mean, I've changed my mind about 4 times this episode. Never mind the one that I actually put on the spreadsheet. I've
I think on the spreadsheet, I don't even know what you put. Let's have a look. For Championship, I think you've got promotion. You have Sheffield United, Bournemouth, and West Brom, I believe.
Yeah, well, I've changed from that. I've now gone for West Brom, Fulham, and Middlesbrough.
I'm sure Barry will be happy with the Fulham being mentioned. Do you agree with that, Barry?
I don't think we're far away. I think that the top of the table is going to be dominated by the teams that have come down this season and last season, Bournemouth. But there's going to be 1 or 2 surprise packages, I'm sure. Fulham will be there or thereabouts. As a Fulham fan, quite happy with bringing in the players that they have. They're obviously going to sell players this season. I'm not incredibly struck on Mitrovic. I don't think he's fit. I'm not sure he's keen. I think he's not going to fit into the system. So I think he needs to do some more business and get the right front man in to change the dynamic and bring goals. But I think if he can get that right, you certainly won't be far away, Fulham. I saw Bournemouth last week, West Brom, 2 very strong sides. Very impressed with West Brom. They've gone very direct with the new manager. Long throws, balls into the box. They go about 6 players at 6'6" or whatever it is. You know, they're going to be a handful to defend against, and they will be there or thereabouts, very strong and physical. And Sheffield United have got a great manager and a squad that 2 years ago was chasing the Champions League, and it's basically the same squad. So you know, if they can bring the best out of those players, there's no reason why they can't be there or thereabouts. So the 3 that come down have got to be the 3 favourites along with Bournemouth, but there are decent teams in there as well.
I chucked Barnsley into the mix. I thought they had a really good season last season and weren't that far away. You know, of course they got in the playoffs, didn't they? And I think that, you know, potentially this could be the season where, you know, they get into the playoffs again, but they go one further and actually win it this time. You know, I've seen a little bit of them on highlights and stuff. I haven't watched them religiously or anything like that, but I did think that they were pretty good last season. Really, you know, I've put Fulham to win the title, so there you go, Barry. You'd be delighted with that. And I've got West Brom to be promoted as well. So I agree with your points on West Brom, but I just think you can't really count out Barnsley as well for the way that they, you know, how they ended last season. I think if they can continue on with that form, then, you know, they will be there or thereabouts around the playoffs again.
So we're talking about the 3 major clubs, really. The one will go down, come back again, and obviously Barnsley's been mentioned. Anyone else we think might be?
Yeah, I see why Mike said Barnsley, but for me, I don't think they're going to be close because the reason that they got to the playoffs was because of Ishmael and the style of play, and they've lost Alex Moat to West Brom as well, who was their linchpin, very good player as well. That's why West Brom are going to win the league by a canter, in my opinion. I think they've got brilliant centre-backs. Connor Townsend on the left wing, playing left wing back. Brilliant delivery, as he showed last week in the Bournemouth game. Alex Moat is probably a Premier League player, really, just playing in the Championship. Yeah, they've got a dynamic front 3 of Diane Garner, Grant, Robinson. They're going to cause havoc, I think, West Brom. I agree with Luke. I think Middlesbrough are actually going to win the playoffs. I think Warnock has built the right squad this time. He's managed to sort of rounded up enough players. Obviously, they've just signed Sol Bamba as well, so he's got lots of experience. So the Championship should be really exciting, but you do think that the teams who've gone down are gonna be the ones who come back up. I did have Sheffield United second. Wasn't impressed with them last week. I know it's early days. Maybe the squad's going stale. I don't know. I think Brewster will have a brilliant season, though. I think this will be the season Brewster fires at least 20 goals.
Any more teams who's throwing in?
I've gone for West Brom, Sheffield United, and I think Bournemouth will do it in the playoffs. I don't think Barnsley will, Mike, and the reason is probably a completely different style of football from what they were playing under Valerian Ishmael, under Marcus Shaw.
That's fair enough.
And they've lost Martu, who was one of the key players last season for them, and I think Colin Woodrow, he's got a big responsibility on his shoulders now. Not only scoring goals, but he's the new captain of the side since Moa left. So I think that could be a problem for him this season. That the strikers are now they've been made the captain, and I don't feel like they've got. And the style may have changed. Yes, at the moment he's still playing a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 like they were last season. But once injuries hit, he may have to change formation, and it may not click straight away. And yes, it's still early days, yeah, but I don't think Barnsley. I think Barnsley will get to the playoffs again, but I think they'll make the final, but lose out in the final this time, and then then the following season may go one better and win the playoffs. Probably something a bit like what Fulham did, where they lost out in the first playoff final when Aston Villa went up, and then the following season got promoted. I think Barnsley may get to the playoff final this season, lose out, then the following season go via the playoffs. I don't think this squad's quite ready just yet, because they've lost another couple of key players from the defensive line that they had last season as well. So I don't think they're quite got enough squad there ready to go up and do well in that divvy, win the playoffs this season.
No, that's fair shout. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. So, Luke, do you want to say something else about Forest while you're here?
I mean, I can go for
John. I was going to say Forest always close to my heart, I have to admit, because of the old Brian Clough days, and some people seem to forget, and we discussed it on Saturday. They are European champions twice in a row back in the early 80s, and now to see them in that sort of situation, and even a lower division, and like you mentioned, you're too young to even remember Frank Clark taking them to third place a few years back in the Premier League. So, is there a way out for Forest to come back and join us with the big boys?
I think there'll be a way. Don't ask me what year we'll find it, but I think there will be a way at some point.
Just as long as it's in your lifetime, you'll be happy, yeah?
Maybe if we can actually have some patience and not decide that after 49 games of a manager's tenure that he's currently now not wanted, that might help. But I mean, if I cover the rest of the championship predictions, I think going down, and I want to put this out there, I'm not being biased here when I say Derby to go down. They are.
I'm with you on Derby.
Everyone, I think
I'm with you. I'm with you on Derby, mate.
Nailed on, innit?
Nailed on for Derby.
Then I've gone Swansea this time. I mean, I think they're gonna struggle with the amount of signings they're allowed to make, because I think they're still going to lose a lot of players and not be able to replace them.
That's a massive call, considering how well they were doing for the majority of last season, though.
Yeah, but when I spoke to my Swansea fan, he was saying that they're in a right mess with things. That's why Steve Cooper's gone. I heard rumours that Matt Grimes might go.
Freddie Woodman will probably end up leaving as well, the goalie, yeah.
Well, Freddie Woodman was on Newcastle.
He's gone back. He's gone back, okay.
And then I went for Peterborough, because I always like to try and pick one side that's come up to go down. Now, I think that both Hull and Blackpool will be all right this year, because Hull managed to thrash Preston at the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've got some decent young players, Lewis Potter, Wilkes, the lad in midfield that's now escaped me.
I mean, I must admit, you mentioned Preston obviously losing, and for me, I found it a bit of a shock of the first round. They've got a good backbone, haven't they, Preston? And losing 4-1 at home to Hull was not expected at all, let alone 4-1.
Well, I think I expected Hull to edge it against Preston, because the optimism for this new season was not there with the Preston fans. They feel like they keep selling the best players and then replacing them with inadequate replacements. But at the same time, to lose 4-1 may have been down to the fact their goalkeeper had to go off in the first half. So they just had to switch to a totally new keeper. But then again, the keeper was there for the back end of last season, so you'd have thought he knew the back line well enough by now. Then again, we're talking about goalkeepers and back lines, and Forest aren't renowned for that either, knowing each other. I mean, going back to Sunday, John, I think part of our problem was we put Figueiredo into the defence. Obviously, it was enforced with Mbeso going off, but then we had two error-prone defenders in our back line.
Which probably summed up the second half performance, didn't it, really, at the end of the day? So
It did.
It's funny as well, 'cause I was going to say that the three teams that didn't make it through the playoffs, so obviously Brentford went up. The three that didn't go up through the playoffs have all changed their manager, which is interesting to see as well. Now Cooper's gone from Swansea. Be interesting to see how they do there, because they're losing players. But yeah, it's interesting. Those three teams that didn't get through the playoffs all losing their manager. Is it? You'd think they'll be weaker this year, but you never know.
I mean, I'll leave it here. I'll sorry, no, just quickly. I'll leave it here to everyone here to answer this. I won't say it's my lack of championship thing, but more that's the figure-wise and the financial aspects. Obviously, we are aware of the three clubs going down. They've got that parachute money they get from the Premier League. But when we talk about the other clubs, are they actually struggling in the league financially to be able to get the players that they want? Teams like Forest, I mean, Derby obviously in big trouble at the moment when it comes to that.
I saw a little statistic on the amount of money that clubs had lost in the past season, and the club that had suffered the most was actually Stoke City. So I put them down as one of the clubs to get relegated. I think they lost about £70 million in this last season, so that could really come back to bite them. And that's why I've put them down as one of the teams to go down this season.
Is that through mismanagement? Oh, sorry, from the board as far as Stoke is concerned, from your understanding?
Possibly, yeah. I think I want to say that last season was their end of their parachute payments, so that could have been a big play. Before. Yeah, all the season before. And then obviously the pandemic. The pandemic was such a harsh, year for a lot of clubs in the Championship League One. So I think it's just sort of like a nice culmination of that, or an unfortunate culmination of that, has really.
They've still got some money behind them though, because they've kind of, I think they've done how much they spent on Ben Wilmot from Watford. Because the old Stevenage Academy centre back who was coming through, and he's gone to Stoke, and I know a Stoke fan as well, a mate of mine, Ollie, and he really likes their sort of squads and how they're shaping up. So I don't know really, like it's one of those ones where they've still kind of got a little bit of money behind them, but they can still make signings as well.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know why everyone's moaning about the pandemic. All these clubs should be doing what Daniel Levy did at Spurs and furlough all the staff and Bob's your uncle and happy
days. Spurs and Arsenal did it right. Yeah.
John, just before you say that, I know you said Swansea going to go down. I don't. I've got the other two that you've said to go down in Derby and Peterborough. But the other one for me, Luke, I think will struggling, end up getting relegated this season, is Huddersfield Town. I don't think they had a very good second half of last season, and I don't think they're going to have a good season this year, especially if they end up losing Lewis O'Brien, who Huddersfield have confirmed earlier tonight that they've rejected 2 bids for him. I think one of them is believed to be from Leeds United. I'm not sure who the other one is, whether both are from Leeds. I know we went in early on trying to get him and he wants to come to Leeds, and he's already told Huddersfield that. So I'm not sure if they'll play a big part in how they play, knowing if they continue to play him, knowing he doesn't want to be there, how that will affect.
Leeds are basically up to their old tricks again, just trying to upset everyone else and try and steal all their players. Yeah.
I just want to bring attention to our viewers and listeners. Whenever Ross talks, just expect the word Leeds comes out of his mouth. So without a fail,
Calvin Phillips. I think Calvin Phillips was the most mentioned name throughout the Euro.
Absolutely.
That's because Phillips is the Yorkshire Pearler.
I'm just gonna bring in.
Reevesy is the Borough Parlour, Russ. There you go. Like I was singing you down singing down the phone to you on Tuesday night.
just before I close the curtain on the on League One, I just want to bring Mark quickly. Obviously, Mark, you haven't gave us your thoughts on. Everyone have, to be fair, on this league except for yourself. So I'm going to bring you in. Mark, what are your thoughts from what you're listening, and who actually you think might be in there struggling or getting promoted this season?
See, the Championship's such a tough league to predict, really, to be honest, isn't it? If I'm honest, because it does throw up the surprises. Because, like you say, you look at the teams that's come down, you automatically think they're going to go straight back up. So it's a tough one to say. For the teams to go up, I'd say Sheffield United. I know they didn't get off to a good start, but they've still got a good enough squad, I think, to compete. If I'm honest, so I think you've got to fancy them. Bournemouth as well. Again, I think they've Scott Parker is obviously got promoted before from the Championship to the Premiership, so he's got that experience there. And the other one, it's a tough one, to be honest. I'd say, I don't know, I do fancy Barnsley, to be honest. I do think there'll be a dark horse in the Championship, I've got to be honest. I've been impressed with the style of football they play, and I don't know, I think they could surprise a few, to be honest. In regards to relegation, I think Peterborough, I think they're definitely a big shot. They always seem to be a team that seems to obviously go up, but they'll come straight back down. I think they've got some really good players there, but I just think I just don't think they're strong enough to stop in there. Derby, as we know, I think that's pretty much confirmed in it, essentially. Who else we got? Let's have a look. Yeah, Swansea again. They've got a lot of financial problems, like we've said, which can play a big effect on clubs. So that could potentially have an impact on them going down. And let's have a look. And maybe Coventry. I think they might go down as well. That'll be my predictions.
Cheers, Mark. Luke, you want to add one last thing about
just the thing on the parachute payments? What people get wrong is it's not more money to make signings. It's money to cover the wages when the sides come down from the Premier League to the Championship. That's where every side gets it wrong. They spend the money on new players.
Yeah.
But they forget to then use it to cover the wages they've already got in the squad. They're astronomical.
Existing players, yeah.
Between the Premier League and the Championship. That's why teams get in a mess, like Reading and Swansea, because they spend and forget, actually, the money that was actually given to us wasn't for that.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that point. And it does seem to be missed by so many people from outside that sort of leagues. I'm just going to bring our late newcomer, JB from JB Sports.
Oh, he's got out again.
Here we go. Good evening, JB.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, mate. Yeah.
How are you all? You all right?
Yeah,
good evening. Good evening, JB.
All good, JB, mate.
Great. Good to hear. Well, now, what have I missed?
Right, okay. Stand by, hold fire, JB.
League 2, League 1 and Championship predictions so far is what we've done.
So you missed Burnley's all last 3 divisions in the last 10 years, so don't worry about that. It's absolutely fine. Right, just before we carry on, just like to mention this is the Commentary Hub, and it's with the association of JDAC Football, JD Sports, and the Storm FM, which is Mark Heineman's on radio station. Now, let's stay close to home a bit, and let's go to the Scottish. We're going to go to the Premier League. We're going to go last, being the best league in the world. So we're going to go to the Scottish League next. And we're going to go to Barry Swain. Barry, it's not going to be long, isn't it? Talk about the Scottish League, probably. But I mean, it's always been, isn't it? I mean, the Rangers, Celtic Rangers, and obviously a few years ago, it used to be the Aberdeen era as well. And now it looks like it's just Rangers again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I've watched Celtic a couple of times already this season, and I think the biggest compliment I could pay them is that they're in transition. They're a mess. They've got a squad of adequate players, a few youngsters. At the moment, up until the league kicking off, they played a couple of the European games with, I think, a back 4 of 21, 19, 21 and 23 or something like that. So very, very young. They've brought Joe Hart in. I think he's a good signing. Looks like the is it Nakamura, what he's called, the Japanese guy, looks like he's going to score goals for them. So they'll probably be second. Rangers unbeaten last season. I know they've lost the second game of the season last week. They went out of Europe, so they've had a bit of a shaky start. Still expect them to win at a can. So I think if you want to open a can of uncertainty, it's to predict which two or which one, because it depends. It's on a playoff, the second place, but who's going to finish bottom, and it could be any of the other 10, really, couldn't it? You look at it like Dundee have just come up, Livingston, Ross County, St Mirren, all the usual suspects. So if you're asking me to place a bet, I'll go with Dundee, just because I was looking at them at the time I was speaking. But it's
potluck, isn't it? Really,
it is. I mean, listen, it's not a great league. Is it competitive? We take away. Can you imagine if Celtic and Rangers did go into the Premier League or into the Championship and they did open it up? Because this would be a league that's probably on par with League Two or the National League.
Easily,
and there's some poor sides in there, and they rely heavily on the revenue from crowds when Rangers and Celtic come to town. And a lot of these games, I'm covering a bit of Scottish Premier on and off this season, and I have before in the past. A lot of these games, you go to somewhere like it was Kilmarnock were relegated, but when they played, I did a game Kilmarnock against Celtic. I actually think I watched it on a Friday night once because it was the only game on, and Celtic had three sides of the ground, and it was Kilmarnock home game, and Kilmarnock were in one stand, and Celtic had got three sides of the stadium. And
it's very much like the conference,
and that's the norm.
That's
the norm. And these sides are massive, but it's their revenue, them coming into town twice or four times a year. Someone like Motherwell taking on Celtic twice, Rangers twice. So that's their revenue. I mean, take that away. These are bang average sides that would probably, if you merge Scottish and English football, Rangers and Celtic would probably rise to the top, and you might get a Hearts or an Aberdeen League One and Championship, but after that, the rest of them will probably disappear into oblivion. That's how weak it is, and that's the frustration thing, I would imagine, for Celtic and Rangers, is that you're expected to win just about every game. For me, Rangers will win it.
No, absolutely, that's completely understandable. I think quite a lot of people agree on that.
As far as I know, everyone's got Rangers to win, so.
So just want to bring in a quick point, Barry. Obviously, you commentated on the Aberdeen game a few days ago in Europe, and I believe they were playing an Icelandic team. Now, are we talking about the other teams, a part of Rangers Celtic, very close to the Icelandic league?
I've seen, actually, do you know what? I've seen Hearts. I see Hearts beat Celtic. They're okay. They're coming up. They're on a crest of a wave. Quite an experienced side. They'll probably be third or fourth with Aberdeen there as well in the mix. Aberdeen have got a new strike force this season, big and experienced. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but I've been caught on the hop there. But they are a decent side, and that's probably third and fourth. Dundee United, another big side from the 80s, of course. They had a great time back then under Jim McLean. But, look beyond that, that's your top five pretty much done. Just been sitting here watching Hibs getting beat 4-1 actually in Europe tonight, and and it was a disaster, to be honest, from what I saw of it. So Aberdeen and Hearts are decent, but are they capable of putting in a realistic challenge to Celtic and Rangers over the long hard season? No, probably not.
Yeah, I just want to add in one quick point.
Of course.
So obviously Barry said without Celtic and Rangers, the Scottish League would be like League Two, National League. Well, for example, Motherwell have signed a National League South winger from Maidstone United, and he's starting National League South semi-pro football, and he's starting for Motherwell. So that shows you that. And also, are Rangers that good, really? I mean, they got beat by Malmö, a Swedish side, and it wasn't even, and they were down to 10 men, and Ibrox was full. Like, the league is a poor standard. I don't want to spend ages on it. It's just Rangers and Celtic dominate that league to such an extent, but then in Europe they do nothing, which shows that they can't go anywhere.
And I was just going to add, just wanted to add in regards to that as well. If you were to go down a little bit more to the Scottish Championship, one of the favourites to go up there are Kilmarnock, and Kilmarnock's captain now, Chris Stokes, was playing for Forest Green last season. He was playing at Stevenage the year before that, when Stevenage were just survived by the reprieve from Macclesfield. Like that's the level of some of these other Scottish clubs. Yeah.
I think probably the one way of Stevenage going promoting to Europe might be ending up playing in the Scottish League and finishing third, wouldn't they? They have got a big chance of doing so.
Probably.
Thank you, gents. Let's leave the Scottish League now. That wasn't take that long, didn't it? Let's go to the La Liga. Now, Liam, just come to you first. Messi, obviously the big news. Messi leaving Barcelona. He wanted to stay. Barcelona wanted to stay. Everyone wanted to stay. Then he ended up leaving to PSG. He signed officially today on the dotted line. Barcelona, just specifically, there are £900 million in debt, if not more.
Wow.
Now, of course, Madrid are a very similar situation, and even Atletico Madrid and all these three clubs and the Italian teams are the only ones who actually are with the idea of the Super League after withdrawal of the English teams a few months ago. Are we expecting anything dramatic, anything drastic from that league? No, I know the eyes is probably half gone because of Messi, and it is a big move, but what are we expecting? Atletico Madrid to win it again?
I think with Messi leaving, of course, we'll start off with Messi. It does definitely take a lot of the sting of La Liga, I think, out of La Liga. It was definitely one of the best leagues in the world with the likes of Messi, Ronaldo in. Now the two, on paper, best players in the world now aren't in that league anymore. They're in the French league. They're in the Italian league. It really does take quite a big sort of element of that league away. With that being said, though, I think a lot of the attention will be sort of taken away from Barcelona because of that. And I think they will use that to their advantage. And they could still win the league this season. Messi has gone, of course. I don't think we ever thought we'd see that, but it has happened. They have still signed some great players. You know, Aguero, Memphis Depay. They've got Eric Garcia from Manchester City as well. Some great players, obviously experienced players as well, mainly, who have joined Barcelona. Not like for like replacements for Lionel Messi, but still great players who could win themselves a title this season. You have to look at the likes of Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, of course, making some decent signings in their own right. Atletico making Rodrigo de Paul. I believe he's a central midfielder. Correct me if I'm wrong. Great player from Udinese. I think he could be really, really good for them as well. And then, of course, Real Madrid signing David Alaba from Bayern on a free transfer. Cracking deal. Could take them to the Championship as well. But I think Barcelona, with a lot of pressure, I think, taken off of them, they could still win the Championship this season.
Rodrigo, just touching on him, he was fantastic throughout the Euros, wasn't he, as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, just before I come to JB on the next point regarding La Liga, just quick. It's a quick, interesting point, Liam, you mentioned, and that is the pressure off Barcelona. Messi now is gone. Has Messi did become bigger than the club, Barcelona?
Yeah, of course. As simple as that. Just in terms of Barcelona's finances, they had 95% of their revenue on player wages, and that was before Messi's deal. He was on about £1 million a week before his contract ran out. And there's a certain law in the Spanish. There's like a certain Spanish law that all contracts have to be at least 50% of what they were. So that would still be 500 grand. Adding 500 grand onto each week as well. So God knows how many millions that is per year. Adding 500 grand a week onto 95% of your revenue, it's really not going to look good. And I think, the Barcelona president said if they did manage to keep Messi, which they could have done, it would have meant that they would have been in some quite serious debt for the next possibly like 50 years, something like that. So, I think going back to obviously Messi's stature, his reputation was also always bigger than Barcelona's ever since, they won the first Champions Leagues. I think, there's no sort of other way to say it. Yeah, he was bigger than the club. He of course, won them a lot of titles, but yeah.
JB, obviously, Liam mentioned the Barcelona saga with Messi and everything else going on. We're looking at Madrid. Madrid are a very similar situation financially, funny enough. Last time that happened to them, they got bailed out by, I think it was £200-300 million by sources close to the royalty, funny enough. Hence why they call the royalties here in Spain. You're expecting issues, obviously, financial issues with Madrid, both teams, both clubs, Madrid. But we still probably expect them to go for the title with Barcelona this season.
You would fancy them, yeah, absolutely, John. I think the problem now you're going to have. I mean, there's one team that we haven't mentioned yet, and they pushed Chelsea all the way last year. I just want to give a quick mention to Villarreal, Europa League winners, good side, settled side. They could be out dark horses for the La Liga. You would expect Barcelona and Real Madrid to challenge. They've still got quality players. Let's not forget that, despite all their financial issues. The one sour taste in the mouth for me, all this is, for me, with regarding the big two, is their determination to push through a Super League, which at the moment they've only got Juventus on side. It's let's put all this Super League talk to bed straight away and say it's not going to happen. You can't have 3 clubs do a league. It's just not practical. The other teams will not go for it now. As regards, I still think you would expect Barcelona and Real Madrid to be up there, John. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But Atletico Madrid have still got quality players. They'll be challenging. Villarreal, as I've just mentioned, they've won the Europa League. They pushed Chelsea mighty close last night in the Super Cup. Got them to penalties, and were only a penalty kick away, possibly for winning it themselves. So, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be quite tested. Okay, Messi's gone. And it's a big blow for the Spanish league, obviously, because main attraction and everything. But that's the laws. But having said all that, I still think it's going to be very competitive at the top end, and I think you could safely say there's 3, maybe 4 teams that have got a chance to win. Just a final one on Messi. I'm not sure them tears when he left Barcelona were genuine. I think 20 foot. Okay, yeah, he's been at the club since he was 8 years old. I get it. Yeah, that's fine. But were the genuine tears, or was he? Because the next day he was unveiled at PSG and he looked he was grinning like a Cheshire cat. Let's be honest with you. Yeah. He's on £500 a week. Not that he needs the money. He's probably got a massive fortune, about £60 million alone, when you add in sponsorship deals and image rights and everything else. The man doesn't need no money. He could play for free. He could play for absolutely nothing, not be paid a wage, and he's set up for life. So why would he need another 500k a week? I do not know. He's a great talent, brilliant, absolutely fantastic, no doubt about it. Is he the best player ever to grace the game? I'm not so sure. I still think Pele, Maradona, and Best are still streaks above anything that there is out there today. But he's certainly a talent. But is he worth 600 grand a week? Not for me, he isn't. And no player's worth that.
I think one of the best things that Messi and Ronaldo do, even if they're playing the age of 40, is their names, isn't it? It's the brands. It sells shirts. It sells contracts.
Absolutely.
And they're big superstars, even if they play probably they're 60, really. You're always going to get that, just like the Beckhams and all that stuff, what have you. Russ, you're dying to come in.
Yeah, I just want to... There's a question for all you and to the listeners as well now, there's no Ronaldo and there's no Messi in La Liga. Which player do you think will be the main one which will sell majority of the contracts for get people watching La Liga this season? Will it be someone like Karim Benzema or Antoine Griezmann, Sergio Aguero maybe? Who do you because for me, I don't think he's none of those I mentioned. For me, I think it could be Luka Modric or Toni Kroos. I think one of those two could be the.
Griezmann. Griezmann is sorry. Just quickly, from the reports here, Griezmann seems to be heading out of Barcelona very soon, as well as Ousmane Dembele. So these two players, I won't even count them at Barcelona this season. They will definitely be going. It's just a matter of looking at clubs for them to go. Go, JB.
Yeah, I was going to throw Luis Suarez into the hat because he's still, I know he's getting on a little bit in terms of age, but his willingness to still find the back of the net at his age, and that's what essentially won Atletico Madrid the title last season. When you think about it, his goals helped them to win the La Liga, and I would expect the same to happen this season. To be fair.
Thank you.
I think
Go
for
on, Liam.
sorry, just before
No, that's fine.
I think for me, if you want to look for you got to say sort of franchise players now in the league. You've got to look at the younger generation. You know, Pedri, who has been an absolute workhorse in the past year. Ansu Fati, who seemingly could possibly take over from Messi. You never know. Real Madrid, Vinicius Junior. It's not really about who's here now. It's sort of about who's coming up, who's starting to play that little bit more. They are the players that will start getting the bums into seats, especially at places like the Nou Camp. They're looking for that new Messi. They're looking for that new Luis Suarez, that new Ousmane Dembele, whoever's leaving the club. It's people like them.
No, I completely agree. It's absolutely agree.
I think you still have to look at names like Sergio Busquets as well, though, ones that have been around for a while, and I do think they'll still sell their fair amount of shirts. But some of the younger generation, as Liam rightly mentioned just a minute ago, like Pedri was fantastic. He was probably Spain's player with the tournament at the Euros for me.
No, absolutely.
It's like child labour.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
know he's
gents.
out for 10 weeks, but I know you've got Aguero, aren't you? It's unfortunate it's out for 10 weeks, isn't it? So it's not more for Barcelona, isn't it?
They can't even register Aguero at the moment. They need to cut their wage bill. They can't register any of their new signings as it stands.
At the moment, I mean, being in Spain, I've got the privilege of getting quite quick first insights, which is how I found out about Griezmann and Dembele leaving. And obviously Aguero hasn't signed just yet, and one of the main reasons for it is not just financially, is he's gone there for Messi. He's got very, very strong relationship with Messi, and he seems he's going to do a U-turn on Barcelona as well. But I've seen Depay play, obviously ex-Man United player, but I saw him on during the weekend, and I'll tell you what, he looked very, very impressive. He picked up where he left off from the French league, and fair play to the guy. He seemed to be bringing it on in the previous game against.
Very good Euros for Holland as well, or the Netherlands. Sorry, let me correct myself as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
And John, with you being out in Spain as well, with Messi now leaving, what's the talk? Who's going to sell the most shirts for the clubs now in La Liga? And who's good from in Spain? Who do they think is going to be the main poster boy? Is if you want to call it, because that's what they used to call Messi and Ronaldo. What's the noise on the streets in Spain? Who's going to be the new poster boy for La Liga from being out in Spain and from speaking to people? Who do they think is going to be the main one to get people watching La Liga this season?
It's going to be Benzema. Everyone's saying how great Benzema is, and even at the age of 32, 33, I believe, and he's been doing wonders for Madrid on the pitch. And he is very, 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 even though he's not Spanish himself, he's French, obviously, but he is well respected here and well admired by the fans in general. You speak to Barcelona fans as well, they will tell you Benzema, they would love to have him in this team, even now, being a Madrid player. Just for a time, we're just going to jump into the Italian league, Serie A. Now we've got Jack Cunningham, a big Newcastle fan. No relations to Richie Cunningham from the Happy Days, but I'm sure he would wish more happier days for Newcastle. However, Serie A, obviously the big news that Serie A, which me and Barry were talking about earlier on as well, Bain Sports, which is they're the bigger contact they get from Bain Sports for the huge audiences and the money they get from Bain to the Serie A and the clubs associated with. That's not going through. By looks of it, they've got a meeting tomorrow. Inter Milan selling Lukaku based on the financial. Obviously, Lukaku does want to come back to Chelsea. I appreciate that, but the financial strains on teams like Milan, Juve, and a few others is huge as well. Not just in Spain, but in Italy. Are we looking at possibly a new name or an old name to come back and bite the big clubs and win the league this season?
Yeah, well, obviously, Inter Milan won last year. They were absolutely fantastic with Conte, with Lukaku, with Martinez up front. You know what I mean? It was absolutely brilliant team. Barella, who was a star of the Euros, but I can't even see them finishing in the top five now. I really can't. I feel that, losing Lukaku, even losing like players like Ashley Young and players like that who were just solid squad players, that they are going to really struggle. it's a shame because Inter Milan looked like they were back, but maybe they're not going to be now because of the financial situation. Obviously, Juventus obviously still won a Super League and they haven't signed a single player yet. But the key thing for them is Allegri's back, who dominated Serie A when he was there initially. They've still got Bonucci, they've still got Chiellini, they've still got Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, I think Juventus are gonna do it. I think they've got De Ligt as well. As centre backs. I think Juventus are, unfortunately, as boring as it is, I think Juventus will be top. I think second, the AC Milan. Really liked them last season. They've got a brilliant midfield. You've got Kessie in there. You've got Benassia in there. Then they've got, obviously, they've lost Donnarumma, but they've signed Maigan from Lille, who was the best goalkeeper in the French league last season for like £11 million. It's a deal that's just gone under the radar. I don't know how anyone else didn't pick him up, but AC Milan have got him. Great replacement for Donnarumma, in my opinion. They've also signed Olivier Giroud. So now they've got Zlatan and Giroud, combined age of 73 up front. But I'll tell you what, them two will score goals. I mean, Ibra scored a lot of goals last season. Giroud has scored goals everywhere he's been. Everyone knows how underrated he is. He's almost at the point where he's not underrated anymore because of people realising that he's actually just a class striker. Him and Ibra up front, I reckon you'll get 30 goals between them at least. So for me, they're going to be second. I think then you've got really interesting. There's been loads of interesting managerial moves. So Lazio have got Sarri in, Napoli have got Spalletti in, and obviously Inter have bought Inzaghi in, who was at Lazio. I think Sarri will do really well with Lazio. I think we saw what he did with Napoli initially in Serie A. I think he'll. They're struggling for signings. Looks like they're going to sell Joaquin Carrera, but they've kept the likes of Milinkovic-Savic, and they've also got a pretty good strike force with Immobile and Marici, the Kosovan striker, as it were. So I think they'll do well. I think they're going to be fourth. Third for me, Atalanta. Great side. Love watching them. So entertaining. Brilliant the way they play. Their wing backs, Myla, and just have a look who the left wing back is. But I'm pretty
sure. They just lost Romero to Spurs as well, didn't they, Atalanta?
Yeah, Romero has joined Spurs, but they've already replaced him with Demiral from Juventus.
Yeah,
it's great. It's 23-year-old, young, just instant replacement from him. Myla, who was one of the stars of the Euros for Denmark. I don't think anyone really had heard of him before that, really. He was fantastic. And then Gorson's at left wing back. The way they play, they're so fun. They're so exciting. And I think they'll finish third. And then Napoli, always up there. But it looks like Insigne's going into Milan from what I saw. And I think selling your captain, such an influential player. I know he's only little, but he is absolutely fantastic. He's such a passionate player as well. I think losing him to Inter Milan's going to absolutely take the stuffing out of them. So I can't see them, unfortunately, doing that well. But yeah, I suppose they're my predictions for Serie A. I think it's always an entertaining league. I think that the managerial changes are certainly going to make it a bit more interesting. I think the league will be closer than it was last year. But ultimately, I think Juventus will win.
Jack, I'll come back to you just one sec. I'll just go to Barry quickly. Barry, from what we've seen in the financial issues, obviously, that we discussed with Liam, JB, and Jack regarding the Spanish and Italian teams, are we actually discounting Italian and Spanish clubs from coming anywhere near winning European trophies for the next 2-3 years? Or would that be, you think that will be sort of separate issue when it comes to what is on the pitch? You're mute, Barry.
Well, mute, yeah. Sorry, I was talking to myself there. Dress rehearsal. Make sure I got it right. I think so. Yeah, I don't think. Can you see Real Madrid and Barcelona with what or even Atletico? They're going to make the latter stages. You would expect. You can never say never, but you would expect PSG, Manchester City, Chelsea, the usual suspects, Bayern to be the favourites, and that gap has widened, and they are in dire straits. There's the television deal that we was talking about earlier with Italy, and there's a big falling out between Barcelona, Real Madrid, and La Liga over the Super League, and there's some bad blood there between the two, and the Messi situation has not made it it's made it messier, no pun intended. So these clubs are losing a lot of clout. And you look at the German situation with the Bundesliga and Bayern Munich, the way these teams are structured and the way that they are run off the fields, it makes it incredibly difficult for them to compete financially as well. So in terms of Spanish sides, Italian sides competing in Europe, they're still going to be competitive. Are they going to win it? I very much doubt it.
Jack, same question for you as well. Sorry, Mark, I'll come back to you in a second. Jack, obviously, you just spoke about the Italian league. Do you think, same as Barry, we're going to sort of more or less discounting the Italian and Spanish teams?
Unfortunately, I think that Inter Milan, if they'd kept Conte, kept Lukaku, I would have actually maybe seen them getting to the semi-final, probably of the Champions League. I think what he does, Conte, is just he has his style of play, but then always his striker. Whatever team he's been at, Diego Costa, whatever, his striker always does everything he can. It scores, it's all about the target man. It's all about getting as many goals possible. He made Lukaku into an absolute beast who we'll now see for Chelsea. So I think they would have done well. Juventus can't really see doing much. And I think AC Milan are on the right path. They've been down for a while, but they've got a good manager in now. They're starting to, apart from obviously getting Ibra back and Giroud, but they're mainly starting to buy younger players and develop the future. So maybe in a few years we'll see AC Milan. But yeah, I think for the near future, I can't see Italian teams doing anything in Europe, to be honest.
Go on, Mike. You were going to say something.
Oh, just in regards to the Italian league and obviously with AS Roma as well, and the fact that obviously Mourinho has now gone to Roma. They haven't been mentioned yet, and I think they'll have a relatively good season. I don't think they'll win the title, but I think they'll be there or thereabouts as well. They'll be, probably in the top 2 or 3, and they potentially, they might be signing Tammy Abraham. Yes, it's a name that is a bit underwhelming potentially, but he does know where the back of the net is, and it's kind of all up in the air whether he signs for Roma, whether he signs for Arsenal at the moment, but. He obviously he's a fantastic player. He does know how to score goals, and they have got other players in there as well. And I think the Mourinho factor will play a part as well.
Yeah, you got Mkhitaryan, obviously Spinazzola. I know he's going to be out till Christmas, isn't he? And one of the best defenders in the world, Chris Smalling.
Everyone, each to their own opinions, Barry. Each to their own opinion. We've got one more league to go. So we'll reach the Premier League. But first, we're going to speak about the French league. What I'm going to do, if anyone thinks that PSG are going to win the league, please raise your hands.
Yeah, easy. They'll walk it, mate. Easy.
I'm not putting my hand up.
Absolutely. I'm off camera, so I'm not putting my hand up.
So a part of Barry, I think. No, is Barry the only one?
No, they're not going to win the league. They've won it already. So what's the point to put my hand up? I mean, having said that, they didn't win it last year.
To be honest with you, the French league is going to be boring as hell, isn't it? Excuse my language. It's going to be one-sided. It's like, I know AC Milan done it before, didn't they? When they had about 30 internationals playing for them back in the 90s, and they hardly used any of them, but they're all in their books, and they dominated Europe, dominated football. And Italian football at one stage did become very boring. And I think the French league now with PSG is heading in the right direction with that money, non-stop amount of money that coming in. And I mean, I know I'm not going to speak a lot about this French football, but I'm just going to throw this here to everyone, and please say your honest opinion. Yeah. Have we actually got problems with regulations regarding PSG spending too much money? I mean,
yes, I have.
Most definitely,
yeah. Why has not been anything about it? Why it's sort of like we talk about Man City, maybe they're breaking social rules or breaking other teams, but no one is mentioning PSG as hard as anyone else, have they?
It's probably because the PSG chairman is on the UEFA board and is now ahead of the UEFA committee. It's all very, very dodgy, I feel. I mean, how did Qatar get the World Cup and PSG getting away with FFP doesn't exist anymore. So it is, unfortunately, there's obviously some deep rooted corruption in the world of football, and you can't look further than the fact that he is somehow now the head of the UEFA board. That's why PSG weren't on board with the Super League, because he got appointed as that. He knew then that there'd be repercussions, so he'd rather do that and sign Messi. So
I mean, they're splashing out all that money. They're not trying to buy the French title, are they? They're trying to buy the Champions League, and that's the big one for them, isn't it? But they've got a great side on paper. But are they going to? I mean, it's probably a better talking point really than the French league. I think we've kind of dusted that one, unless you want to talk about who's going to go down, Clermont, Bordeaux, whatever. I
do feel a bit sorry for Lille. Though. Obviously, they won the league, and now then they won it fairly well. Coming up against Mbappe, coming up against Neymar, and then they've seen Messi to PSG. Well, we're out then. We're not going to retain our title this year.
No, absolutely. There are bigger clubs out there, the Marseilles and the Monacos and the Lilles and the Lyons. Yeah. So you got 4 or 5 out there, but they're just not competitive at the moment. The thing is, they're not playing great opposition week in, week out. PSG, as where over here. To a certain extent, in the La Liga and in Bundesliga, you're playing decent opposition week in, week out. Does that put you in a good stead in the Champions League? PSG wins 6-0 on a Sunday. On the Wednesday, they're in a Champions League semi-final. Is it a big enough thing for them? Are they going to be strong enough? On paper, they are strong enough to compete in Europe, but the fact that they're playing in a rubbish league is probably not going to help them, is it?
No, true. Yeah.
No, I think the only thing I can see is PSG selling a lot of shirts, aren't they, and selling a lot of merchandises because of Messi and being in the club, and it's just becoming football's heading in that direction for a while, but it seems to be getting even more and more into that streamline, isn't it?
It's not football. It's not a club anymore. It's a franchise or a business.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree.
Yeah, and also, John, just before we move on, I think PSG have not just bought the league with the signings that they've made, but bought, like Barry said, and other people said, bought the Champions League as well. Because if you look at the signings of Wijnaldum, he's won a Premier League with Liverpool and he's done really, really well there. Achraf Hakimi, who's coming from Inter Milan, done really, really well over there. 60 million euros he cost PSG, and then on free transfers they've got Sergio Ramos, Donnarumma and Lionel Messi. 3 of the couple of Donnarumma and Messi up there to work for best players in the world.
Yeah. I mean,
at this moment in time, Ramos a bit further down from them, but he's a top class defender. So I think when you look at the business that they've done, they've loaned out a few of the players as well. We've loaned out Alphonse Areola to West Ham as well this season. They've got a good replacement in Donnarumma. I think if we hadn't got Donnarumma in, I think Areola would have stayed and they would have still done really, really well this season with the other signings they've made. I think PSG in the Champions League as well as Ligue 1 are going to be ones to watch this season.
No, absolutely. I think the only thing I've seen in the social media, I never thought it was going to take that long speaking about French league, but here we go. But something needs to be mentioned, which I've seen on social media, is so many people talking about Pochettino, and he was struggling to get the players that he wanted, even the cheap ones, to Spurs, and now he's managing the biggest names in the world of football. I mean, surely, JB, I'll come to you on this. Surely, it's actually much bigger pressure on Pochettino for him to getting sacked if he doesn't get things right from the start.
Absolutely. I'm going to touch on in a moment when we do the Premier League, and I hope. Can I just say I'd love to go first because my battery is draining, so I'd like to get my opinions in first, if that's okay with everyone.
Of course.
Fine. Yeah, back to the Pochettino thing. He's under a lot of pressure. He's just got, but he's got the dream front three. If they don't walk the French title, there'll be something wrong, obviously. The Champions League is the one they want more than anything else, and they've spent billions of pounds trying to win it the last 10 years without any success. They got to one final in that time, which really, you look at the money they've spent, it's not really good enough. If he doesn't deliver the Champions League this season, I'll be honest with you now, and I'm going to put it nice, short and sweet, he'll be out in his ear. Mark my words.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
If he's not 20 points clear by Christmas, he'll probably be out in his ear.
Absolutely.
No. Right, let's go to the biggest league in the world, the most exciting one after the Iraqi League, of course, and that is the Premier League. Right, I'm going to start with Mark. Mark, obviously you're a massive fan, but everyone knows everything about it. Seen the Premier League, watch it, what have you. I'm going to talk to you about Liverpool quickly. Sorry, JB, I forgot about you. Sorry, Mark. I'll come to JB first before the battle dies. JB, sorry, I do apologise. Obviously, Burnley. I don't know what to say about Burnley, to be honest. I mean, you tell me what Burnley doing. Are we? I mean, to be honest with you, and I'll tell you this: I think clubs like Burnley, it'll get to the stage they'll hang in the Premier League for 2, 3, 4 seasons max. And then if there's no backing, they're going to go down, aren't they? I think this season, Burnley might be in there with Southampton, wouldn't they?
Well, I'm hoping. I'm really praying to the hope that we do sign a couple of Williams and a midfield player. I have them down as 13 from my own predictions, providing they get those players in.
Very promising.
Yeah, but you've got to be optimistic, being a Burnley fan. It's not easy. But we finished 17th. Yeah, it's but I scored some red player. I mean, the two players we brought in, Ryan Hennessy, good backup in goal. Nathan Collins will be a good signing from Stoke once Tarkowski goes, if and when that time comes. My big worry is that we're not spending enough in midfield. There's talk of having Lennon coming, but I think he's past his best. We've missed out on a couple of players. There was talk of Luckman coming. That seems to have gone for a dead duck, unfortunately. Sean Dyche what's made me a bit angry about today really is that Sean Dyche has come out in a press conference just today and he said that he's pleased with business. I'm not pleased with business. I mean, a defender and a goalkeeper is not enough. If McNeil or Goodmanson get injured, and we know what Goodmanson's like, he's like porcelain. If he gets a bad tackle, he's out for about 3 or 4 months, and we're knackered on that right side. Same could apply to McNeil. If he gets an injury or he's sold or whatever, I tell you what, if he is sold this summer, they will be a riot in Burnley. Let me tell you that, and I'm not joking. Alan Pace.
Sorry, JB. I was just going to say, sorry to butt in quickly, but obviously talking about the transfers for Burnley is concerned. I mean, how big is Burnley's budget to spend on players in the normal circumstances, and for this season, of course, after the pandemic and everything else been going on?
Do you know what? I don't honestly know because the problem with Burnley Football Club is they're not. Obviously, most clubs aren't open about a lot of things, but obviously Burnley are the worst ones for being cloak and dagger. Now, I don't know what the remit is. Alan Pace came in and he's promised. He came in at the back end of the year, starting around the new year, and he promised the world. He promised, "Don't judge me on January, judge me in the summer." He promised us this and he promised us that. And is that the other? There's been upheaval behind the scenes. Mike Rigg, the director of football, has gone. Darren Bentley, the media manager, has gone. He's obviously trying to bring his own men in. Is that undermining Dyche? I'm not sure. Then there's the uncertainty of the new contract that Dyche hasn't signed yet. Could he be on his way come the end of the season? These are the things you have to weigh up because no one is telling anything. And I look at the message boards and around the football club, and people are up in arms about it. I mean, I'm just beginning to wonder if Mike Garlick is still calling the shots, even though he's still on the board. Even though he's not the chairman, I think Mike Garlick is having something to say. Now, I've made no secret of the fact on other channels and other videos that I despise the man. I think he's a bit. I know to Scrooge, quite frankly, but if we don't get the players in, I think we will be knackered. But we were promised players. We haven't got them. There's still talk of Cornet coming in from Lyon, I think. That's not going away. We've been linked with so many players. But it comes down to the fact, are we little old Burnley? Do they want to come to Burnley? Or do we have to shop in the Championship? Do we have to shop maybe in the Dutch League or somewhere like that to get bargains in? We need some players and quick. It's all well and good signing these young under-23 academy players, but
John,
that's not.
I was going to say I covered Burnley on the opening game of the season last year. Yeah, and their bench. This is the first game of the season.
I remember.
And I think their bench, there was only 2 players that you would recognise. They're all kids. This is the
Oh, they
first
were.
game
I
of
covered the
season.
same game last season.
Yeah, and it's been like that all the way through. You always
It
seem to
has.
be lucky with me and Tarkovsky and the front guys fairly injury free. Tarkovsky
Absolutely.
breaks his leg, or me does his cruciate. You're stuffed.
No, I don't think. You know what? A week or 2 ago, I would have said no. I would have said no. But considering the week's moved on, Barry, I think you're right, because when you look at we depend on all these players. I mean, Ben Mee was missing for the first sort of 3 or 4 games of last season, and we didn't pick up a single point. I think we lost the first 3 or 4, but then recovered. I think Nathan Collins is going to be a good player. He's one of the best young players to come out of England. We're signing for £12 million. Now, I thought that was a good start to the window, and I thought, oh, great, first of many here. I might have to do a different video this time round. But it's been the same old. And, I know the club has to be cloak and dagger on potential signings, because they don't want other teams to sniff in and get there. But I also wonder if agents are playing us off with the speculation as well. But at the end of the day, we're still little old Burnley, and that could put a number of players off. But we have to show a little bit of ambition. If you need to buy players from the Championship, go in the Championship. There is no shortage of top talent in the Championship. There's good players there's still some decent talent at Derby County who are millions of pounds in debt.
Yeah.
Go there, or go to somewhere like Birmingham, or all that jazz. I mean, Southampton have just spent a lot of money. Imagine they've used the Ings money to do it, haven't they? And signed Adam Armstrong from Blackburn. He would have been a wonderful signing for us. But I don't think the strikers is the issue. We've got 4 capable strikers, and if one gets injured, another one can come in. But I think what I will say positively, I think our home form, Barry and lads and everyone, I think the home form suffered a lot last season due to the fact that we were in the middle of a pandemic with COVID-19. There was no fans in there. Now, if you go to a game at Turf Moor, which Barry will know only too well, doing his commentaries for many years, that the Burnley supporters, which I number myself one, are the 12th man. If the team are having a bad ebb or having a bad low at the time in a game, they lift the players, regardless of who's on the pitch and who's playing in that claret and blue shirt. And I think that could be crucial. I think we'll stay up, but only just if we don't get the players in. Only purely and simply because we'll have the fans in again. But our home form did suffer, and it wasn't good enough. And then adds on top of that our limp defeat to Bournemouth, which was unacceptable in the FA Cup. I think it will be, if we don't get the players in, it will be a tough season. And I don't think Barry's too far wrong, John, in the way that he's just said that we could be stuffed. We could be stuffed, Krusty, me, Tarkovsky, or Pope even. Nick Pope gets injured because Pope is... You've
got Wayne Hennessy. So.
I know, but yeah, I know. But Pope is the number one, isn't he? You know what I mean? Pope has been an absolute miracle worker the last 2 or 3 years. And that is a worry, and I think Barry's not wrong with what he says there. And we just need to have this. I'm not going to panic just yet, though, lads, because there's 2 or 3 weeks of the window to go. We might get the players in we need. Who knows? I mean, 3 weeks is a long time in football, as everyone knows.
Absolutely, John, JB. And I've put JB, my prediction, I put you down to finish 1 place below yours. I've gone for 14th for Burnley.
Well, that's very generous.
Similar reason too. I think if you lose McNeil and Goodmanson early on, and have to play someone like Dale Stevens out wide when he's a central midfielder, and Ashley Westwood out wide as well, and maybe Josh Brownell out wide, I think you could struggle, and that's part of the reason why I put you 14th in the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
This season.
Absolutely, you're not far wrong. I just want to comment quickly before I go on the rest of the league. I think Liverpool will win the title purely and simply because the pressure will be heaped loads on Manchester City because of their spending power. I think Pep will be under a lot of pressure to defend the title. I don't know what's going to happen with Harry Kane yet. I've got Spurs. Sorry, John. I've got Spurs to finish 9th if Harry Kane is sold. Other than that, they could finish higher. Will Nuno be the right manager for Tottenham? I don't know, but I think Klopp's I think Klopp's now got his big game players back. They've got the fans back as well. They're going to, obviously, when the Kop is full, when Anfield is full, and it's a cauldron for away teams. Man United will have a solid season, finishing third. Chelsea will complete the top four, no doubt about it. Leicester fifth. I've gone for Arsenal to finish sixth, Mike, and win the FA Cup.
I'll take that. We'll take that all day long, mate. The way that we went last season, yeah.
And I'll tell you who might be I'll tell you one team that I think might do well as well this season, Everton. Rafa Benitez coming in now. I'm followed by a guy called Elton Wellesby. You older people may remember Elton Wellesby being on ITV many years ago. He was a presenter, but he's a big Evertonian, and he reckons Benitez is good, but he's a proven winner. He's proved it with Liverpool, he's proved it with Chelsea, and he's proved it elsewhere. I mean, look at the job he did at Newcastle on a limited budget. So, he's going to have a bit more of a bigger budget at Everton. And I honestly think they could finish in the top 7 and win the Carabao. I honestly think, and it's about time Everton won something. It's, for a club of their size and the stature, and Goodison Park is one of the great grounds. But I think it's about time Everton won some silverware, and I would love to see them win something. I've got Leeds to finish down in 8th, and my bottom 3, as things stand at the moment. I think Brentford will acquit themselves well, but their open style of football could put them in a lot of trouble. Same applies to Norwich. Norwich played a really nice style of play in the Championship last season. I think Billy Gilmore was a clever loan signing, I have to say. But I think they needed more than that. And I think Brighton will go now because they've lost key men. They've lost Matt Ryan. They've lost Ben White, crucially to Arsenal. I think Ben White was a very good part of the good things that Brighton did. They don't score enough goals. I don't think Mopai and Welbeck score enough. So for that reason, I think Brighton will go as well. Palace will struggle a little bit. Post Roy Hodgson, Patrick Vieira's got a tough job there, having to replace players that have already gone. They had a lot of players out of contract. Southampton should be okay. Villa will finish 10th. And I've got, as I said, Russ, I told you this off air, actually, a couple of days ago. I've got Leeds to finish 8th. Now, Leeds are a good side. I've got a Leeds United fan who works today, and I was telling him exactly the same thing. And he doesn't think they're going to finish anywhere near the top 10. I said, are you joking? I said, you play great football. You're a quality side. You've got a quality manager. You've got stars like Kelvin Phillips, who in the last 18 months as a footballer has progressed to high levels that he could never have imagined. Yeah. What I'd like to see from Leeds, and I was disappointed with them that they didn't have a good honest run at one of the cups last year. They lost out against, I think they lost against Crawley in the FA Cup, and they lost so limply. It was unbelievable. I'd love them to have a run in the cup, and I think that would be a good season. Just remember, Leeds haven't won anything since 1992, major, and when they won the old First Division before it became the Premier League. So it'd be nice if Leeds could get up there. They are a big club. They are a big club in stature. Ellen Rowe, the fan base, the history of that club. You go back to Bremner, Giles, Charlton, Hunter, Bremner, and everybody else. And that club should be a top 10 club every single season. There's no two ways about it. But I'll tell you, I'll finish off with this, guys. It's going to be highly competitive, and I do honestly think, guys, I think we could be in for some season. And I wouldn't back it against it being a 4-way title race either. You look at the top 4, your Liverpools, your Man Cities, and Man Uniteds and Chelseas of this world. I think we could be in for one hell of a season.
Thank you, JB. Mike, let's jump on North London chances quickly. Spurs and Arsenal. Spurs with new manager, and Arsenal. He seems to be quite a favourite with so many people for getting the chop, isn't he?
Yeah, I think when you look at Mikel Arteta and the way that things have gone for him at Arsenal, he's got the likes of Aubameyang not performing for him, and of course Aubameyang a couple of seasons ago was joint Golden Boot winner. I think he won it outright the second season after all, was there or thereabouts as well. And now he's just gone off the boil since signing the new contract. And he's gone full Mesut Ozil basically, and signed the deal and then decided, I'm getting my money. I don't have to do my bit for the team now. As much as I love Aubameyang, I have to throw that one out there. But I think with Arsenal, you have to look at the likes of Kieran Tierney, Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Gabriel Martinelli. The younger generation really will be where it's sort of, potentially improved from Arsenal's point of view. Yes, there's the likes of Lokonga that's coming as well. I like him. He's looked good in pre-season. Ben White has looked okay the games that I've seen him as well, and certainly an improvement on Rob Holding and Pablo Marie. But yeah, I think that we've still got a lot of players that need to go. I still think Bellerin needs to go. I still think Willian needs to go. We're still desperate for a backup goalkeeper because if Leno gets injured, we're screwed. We've got to play Runnison, and the only time I've seen him, he couldn't catch a cold, let alone a football. I think that it's all about what Arsenal can do in terms of that, getting a new backup goalkeeper. And then, Nicola Pepe, if he continues to have a good season again like he did last season, if he can continue on that form, he'll play a big part as well. I've got Arsenal to finish just outside of Europe yet again. I think that Mikel Arteta, I'm not an Arteta I'm not an Arteta fan. I don't think we should have gone for him because of the lack of experience, and I think that's sort of shown. And basically, I can see that happening again. Yes, there's no European football, and that could be seen as a welcome distraction. But I just think the way that the squad looks at the moment is not good enough.
Just quickly, Mike, who do you think is going to be the king of North London, Spurs or Arsenal, comes the end of the season? And who's your tip for the actual league?
Spurs will finish above Arsenal yet again, with or without Harry Kane. If Harry Kane goes, it might be a little bit closer, but I do think there's still enough about them with Son, etc., Højbjerg, and some of the other names in there to still finish above Arsenal. I think that there's still, if Harry Kane was to go, there's still plenty of options out there that could be signed as well. Some of the new signings that Spurs have made, I was pretty, quite like as well. I think that Spurs will finish above Arsenal for about the 6th or 7th season in a row. And then, to win the title, I've gone Chelsea. I think that Lukaku will certainly improve them. I think that Sarri has really improved them as well. And then if they can get Timo Werner sort of firing, Kai Havertz, Pulisic, Ziyech as well. They've got some really top draw players. And then if you look at their back line, they've got like Reece James as well, another really good player who was fantastic throughout the European Champions League final, the other year. Mason Mount, of course, as well. So I think Chelsea, I've got City second, I've got Man United third, and I've got Liverpool fourth. That's my top four. And in terms of relegation, I'm glad that JB's left because I've got Burnley to go down. So I don't want to upset him too much, but I think it's probably their time's done now. And
to be honest with you, after hearing JB for the last 20 minutes, I would want Burnley to go down as well. So
didn't know there's that much to talk about for Burnley.
And I've got Norwich down. I've got Norwich to go down with them as well. I think Brentford will survive. Only just. I think they'll be probably 15, something like that. Just outside the relegation zone, 15th, 16th, somewhere like that. And I see Watford going down as well because I saw them come down here to Stevenage in pre-season, brought a really strong side down and didn't look very good at all, to be honest with you.
Just speaking while we speak, sorry, Barry and Russ, just 1 second. Obviously, speaking about the North London side and all that, and I'm just going to bring in Mark quickly because obviously Mark is going to tell us about his team to win the league is Chelsea, which is same as mine. I think Chelsea is going to win the league personally. Obviously, there's a big standard, isn't it, since Thomas Tuchel came in and took over, and he changed the club. I mean, we've seen players like Jorginho, which I've never rated, to be honest with you, until Tuchel came in, and he's been one of the best players in the world over the last 6 months. Surely you can see that there's a big standard, a big difference between Chelsea and the North clubs of London, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like what the guys were saying there as well. You look at the signings he's made, and it just shows you how different players can be under a different manager. We're seeing that obviously what he did at his previous clubs. He gets them playing good football. Obviously got them the Champions League last season, and you can't look past them. They're definitely got to be one of the favourites for the Premiership for me. I don't think you can really look past them in that respect. They've got quality throughout the side. The strength and depth they've got. So it's going to be a very tough league, the Premiership this season. You've got sides like Man United that strengthened as well, bringing Sancho in as well. I think they're looking to bring another striker in. I think Leeds, you can see how much they've improved since they've come back into the Premiership as well. They've really established themselves. Obviously, Liverpool, they'll be wanting to try and close the gap under Man City. Obviously, Man City bringing in Grealish as well. A lot of hope there with him, and I think Leicester as well. I think Leicester will be up there as well. I think in the top four as well. So it's going to be a very interesting season, the Premiership. But I do fancy Chelsea to win the league.
Yes, and I've got a question.
I'm sure everyone got questions here. Yeah, Russ, go for it.
Yeah, my question is to Mike here now. And Mike, I know you mentioned about you looking for another, also probably wanting another goalkeeper. You want also to sign another goalkeeper. From reports up here in South Yorkshire where I'm based and listening to
radio.
Thank
you. I know exactly who you're going to say.
Ramsdale.
No, thank you.
Arsenal, a very far away from evaluation on Ramsdale.
Good.
But from what I've been told from up here as well, Mike, is that Ramsdale wants the move to Arsenal.
Yeah, not for me. Ramsdale was fantastic a couple of seasons ago. Don't get me wrong, but I think he went off the boil a little bit, and not for me. There's better names out there. We need to be looking for a number one really. I want Leno as our number two, and I want us to sign a number one now, not a backup goalkeeper. And Ramsdale would be backup for me to answer that question. And just quickly, I wanted to mention Leeds as well. I see Leeds having a really good season. I think they could certainly be, like West Ham were last season. If you look at that squad, I think they could be up there challenging for Europe.
Barry, I was listening to, I believe, Trevor Sinclair earlier on today, and I think he mentioned Wolverhampton Wanderers are one of his teams to go down. I'm assuming you don't probably agree with him, and probably you got your own three that you think maybe they've got a bigger chance than Wolves to be in the Championship next season.
I think Wolves have got enough quality about them. There is a bit of a change there. There are one or two new faces, new manager. I think they've got enough quality in the squad. For me, sorry, JB's gone. I think Burnley are dead and buried. If your big summer signing is Wayne Hennessy, you've got problems. I'm sorry, they are. They're a mess for me. They've got a load of experience, but you can't keep counting on a bang average squad of half-decent players and expect to stay up. They only just stayed up last year for the fact there were three teams worse than them. I think the three teams that come up will finish above Burnley, and that for me is enough to send them down, because I think Watford will be better than them. I think Norwich would be better than them, and I certainly think Brentford will be more entertaining and better than them. So I don't see Burnley finishing anywhere near survival. I did originally put, I'm just looking here, I did originally put on my list Burnley, Newcastle and Norwich. I think it's very tight. Crystal Palace, Southampton, a lot of change there. Will they be okay? Not sure. I think Brighton could be in real trouble thinking about it. They've lost a lot of players, so I think they could be down there. I wouldn't be at all surprised, because there's a lot of dead wood in there. The Palaces, the Southamptons, the Brightons and the Burnleys. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is a bold statement from me, that the three that come up stay up, because I think there's enough dead wood in there to give them a fighting chance of staying up.
I mean, don't mention Southampton. They're one of my tips to go down, and I've heard today after see Danny Ings going to Aston Villa, that James Ward-Prowse apparently on his way to Spurs, and possibly two more others. So I mean, I'm not saying obviously Ralph, good old Ralph, he's done a good job as far as Southampton is concerned. But surely he can't, just like Burnley, he can, so far he can take the club, hasn't he, Same as John Dyche. There's quite a few deadwoods in that team as well, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a lot.
What I will say, just sorry, Barry and John as well. Ralph Hasenhüttl was the man I've got to be the first manager sacked from the Premier League. In fact,
wouldn't surprise me.
I could see Southampton really struggling as well, and him being out of a job probably before.
There's been a few public signs of unrest between him and the owners, I think, over the course of the last 6-9 months a year. I don't think all's well down there. They've sold Ings. They're going to sell Ward-Prowse. I mean, they struggled back end. Remember, they were top, and in the end, they were nosediving towards a relegation battle. They just about had enough to stay up. For me, that signifies that they're you're bringing in Armstrong, great goal scorer in the Championship. There's no guarantee that he's going to score you even 10, 12 goals in the Premier League. So I think they're in trouble as well. And I stand by what I say. I think the 3 clubs coming up have got a good chance of staying up. And that's a bold statement because that doesn't often happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've probably got about 10 minutes to go.
They've also lost Ryan Bertrand, who was one of the main left backs in the Premier League, and they're also losing Yannick Vestergaard as well. He's in Leicester having his medical and that should go through in time for him to play this weekend for the Foxes as well. Brendan Rodgers said earlier today, so that should go through in time so he can make his debut for the Foxes this weekend. Vestergaard, so lost 2 key defenders there for me. Southampton, and I've actually put Southampton. I put them in 13th, but I think they could end up dropping a bit lower, depending on if Newcastle, once Willock comes in, if Newcastle have a good season, they could finish with either one. I've got them in the minute, but with the squad that they had with Vestergaard there before Vestergaard left, I put Southampton to finish in 13th, but I could see them finishing lower now, having lost Ings and Bertrand and Vestergaard, 3 of the main players from last season, especially Southampton as well.
Southampton for me will finish below Brentford. I don't think Watford and Norwich. I was going to say Northwich. Then they moved up the league rapidly, but no, I don't think Norwich and Watford will finish above them. But I do think that Southampton will finish below Brentford, and just with Newcastle as well. I think Newcastle will be absolutely fine this season. They'll be about mid-table, especially with bringing in Joe Willock, who was exceptional for them last season. That's Joe Willock, not Callum, by the way, Barry, as well.
Yeah, I know.
We've probably got about 5-10 minutes, so I'm going to try and make it very, very quick. Jack, just quickly, Liverpool, obviously now the main defender is back. Liverpool's problem for years always been not scoring goals, but conceding goals, especially when they had Matip and all that. And now they've got the main man back. Liverpool probably going to be up there challenging, unlike last season.
They'll be up there, obviously. I mean, they're not going to be as bad as they were for. I also think last season was a bit of an odd one. They started really well. They just had a horrible middle period. They ended quite well. So Robertson's injured though. That's a huge one. So Tsimikas is going to have to come in, and is he going to be anywhere near as good as Robertson? You doubt it. Alexander-Arnold is world-class player. Struggled a bit last year, but we know how good he is. Look, Van Dijk's back. That's the big thing. They've got Konate, great signing. But you look at the other teams. Chelsea have made that signing, the striker. Man City have got Grealish. Man United have. I don't think Liverpool have strengthened that much. That front three of Salah, Mane, Firmino has been that front three now for 4 years. And there's been rumours for ages that Salah doesn't, it doesn't really fancy it anymore. Liverpool wants to go to Real Madrid, wants to go to Barcelona. You can think that they're all coming towards maybe the end. They're past that peak now. They're all the same age. They're all 29. They're all on £200,000 a week. They will do well, but I just don't see Liverpool. I think that Klopp's team's going a bit stale, to be honest. I think they'll finish in the top 4, but I can't see them finishing near the title, in my opinion.
Just quickly, Jack, then while you're here, just literally next 30 seconds, where do you think Newcastle are going to end up, and who's your tip for the Championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think Newcastle, Willock is a huge, huge signing and on a permanent deal. I'm absolutely delighted about that. I think he'll get a good amount of goals, but he does good defensive work. He has great legs in the midfield. I actually think Newcastle have a decent season. I think the second half of the season were pretty good since Graham Jones came in, because he's actually got some tactics, unlike Steve Bruce. So I think they need another centre-back because we're lost. Basically, the centre-backs are going a bit stale for me, so I need another centre-back, another centre midfielder. I think St. Maximin will be on fire this season because he's going to be playing for a move away, which is totally fair enough. So I think we'll do okay. I think if Callum Wilson stays fit, great. He's going to get 15 goals probably. Jacob Murphy's looked really good in pre-season at right wing back. I'm looking forward to seeing him some more, and I'm looking forward to seeing Ryan Fraser some more as well. Last season, horrible season for him, but we saw how good he was at Bournemouth. I think on a free transfer, he's looked really bright in pre-season. So I think Newcastle did quite well. I think we'll finish mid-table, to be honest. I'm not too worried. Or if we make these other signings, I think, Willock coming in, another midfielder, another centre-back. If they don't do that, then, Newcastle might struggle. In terms of going down, Burnley, not a chance, not hope in hell. Mm-hmm. They've got nothing about them. Sean Dyche has done miracles, but he's being given no backing once more. And then I think I went for Norwich. I've actually made some decent signings, but I think ultimately I just don't see them having the firepower to stay up. And then Watford, I think the manager will be the first to go, as they always do. Again, I think Watford made some okay signings, but I just don't see it for them. So yeah, that's they're my bottom three predictions.
Who's just quickly? Who's your tip to be champions?
Oh, Chelsea, just because of Lukaku. The defence is brilliant, midfield is brilliant. What Tuchel did to the likes of Jorginho last season, absolutely unbelievable. But adding Lukaku in, that's your 30-goal-a-season striker right there.
Ross, just quickly, Leeds United, obviously today Bielsa signed a new contract with Leeds, which is always a good thing. Bielsa is one of probably the best managers around. Such a beautiful attacking football. Where do you expect Leeds this season, and who do you predict to be the champions come to the end of the season?
My top four, I've gone with City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United in that order. My bottom three, Norwich, Brighton and Brentford. And then Leeds, I think, will finish in the Europa Conference League place, which is 7th, which will go to the 7th place team if whoever wins the Carabao Cup finishes in the top 6, and then the 7th will get the Europa Conference place. And I think our defence this season will be better than what we were last season because of the signing of Junior Firpo, natural left back. Whereas as I mentioned to you pre-show, John, Alioski, as much as I did like him when he was at Leeds last season, he used to get forward, but get caught out quite a lot.
Did you?
When we were
never noticed.
Get caught out quite a bit.
I forgot to mention Alioski was probably the second most mentioned name throughout the Euros.
Yes, like I said, Alioski.
Even though he went out of the tournament in the first week.
That's it.
Caught out quite a bit in the left back spot when we went after we'd gone forward. Didn't get back quite a lot, so that's where we got caught out quite a bit last season. This season, from what I've seen, and Firpo can get back quick as well as get forward quick. So he's an attacking fullback would like to can get back as well. So I think that's a good solid addition. And like I mentioned, Bielsa, everyone around the club, players, staff, fans, all knew Bielsa was going to be staying, and one of the reasons why we knew he'd be staying is because his wife has moved over from Argentina to England, and I think if he weren't staying another year, I think he would have gone back to Argentina this summer, and he stayed around, and he's not even had an holiday this summer like the rest of the managers have. He's continued to work at Thorpe Arch, at Ellen Road, with the directors and boardroom staff, Bielsa. So I think we're going to have another good season. I think we can finish 7th this season.
Barry, obviously big talks in Manchester. Both teams think they're going to be 1-2 or 2-1 or something like that. Both spent big, didn't they? I mean, Grealish on one player, 100 million. Of course, Sancho, 90 million or so, and Varana's coming in as well. Are we expecting top 2 Manchester clubs, or? It's Solskjaer is under pressure really more than Guardiola.
Yeah, he's got to do something this year, surely, hasn't he? He's got to win something, whether it's a title or one of the cups. At the very least, he's got to win one of the cups. I think the top 3 will be the 2 Manchesters and Chelsea. I'm tipping Man City, just purely because I think pound for pound, when they play to their very best, they are the best team. But I think Chelsea will run them close. And if Manchester United can bed down quickly, I think they were there or thereabouts. I think what Jack said about Liverpool is absolutely spot on. I think they're starting to go a little bit stale. They've probably got enough for the top four. I don't think they've got enough to put pressure on the other three for the title, in my opinion. But I'm going to go Manchester City. But it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea and Manchester United get on, because they've certainly been busy in the summer.
Thank you, Barry. Finally, Mike, I'll come to you. We talked about Spurs Arsenal. Just quickly, who's your tip to be champions for this coming season?
Oh, I've said Chelsea already, but just actually going through just into some of the other cups as well, the Carabao and the FA Cup. I've got Liverpool as Carabao Cup winners. I think that there's still enough quality about them to win a trophy, so I've put them to win the Carabao Cup. And I do think Man City will win a trophy, and I've given them the FA Cup this year.
Cheers, Mike. I'm just going to pass the microphone to Mike quickly, just to get them through with the forthcoming fixtures for the next few days. Mike.
Yeah, so thanks, John. Just give me 2 seconds, mate, to jump back. So I had to just go back to the other screen there. So for the games this week, of course, we've got the game coming up tomorrow with myself alongside Justin Hoyt. That's going to be presented by JB. That's the opening fixture of the Premier League, which sees the London affair between Brentford and Arsenal, of course, the newly promoted Brentford. See how Ivan Toney and co can get on in the Premier League in their first appearance there for the season. And then we've got Craig Braddock on Saturday at lunchtime covering Manchester United and Leeds, and that's going to be presented by Russ, I believe. And then we have the game coming up from Binfield as well with Nicholas Jones. Of course, that's an absolute coup, really, to actually get to the stadium and have Nicholas, working for us in the stadium with Binfield against Basingstoke on Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. kickoff for that one. Certainly don't want to miss that. See how Binfield and Basingstoke get on, and that's going to be presented by Russ as well. And then later on that day, we've got Norwich City and their reappearance in the division as well against Liverpool, which is covered by Russ. That's at 5:30. And then on the Sunday, we've got the game between Tottenham and Manchester City, and that is with yourself, the very own John Kane.
Thank you very much, Mike. We're coming to the end of the show, and we'd just like to thank, on behalf of everyone, Russ, Mike, Mark, Barry, and Jack, and of course also Lee, Luke, and JB, who were with us earlier. Thank you for joining us here in the Commentary Hub with the Association of JDAC Football and JB Sports and Storm FM, of course, sponsors with our official sponsors, Mellon. Thank you very much for joining us for our team's prediction, and hopefully see you soon in this next forthcoming podcast. Thank you and good night.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.